Pascoe Vale.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak on the 000 Victoria Bill of 2023, and in doing so I'd like to acknowledge all of the contributions, particularly from this side of the House thus far, and the service from all sides of the House in terms of our emergency services, beginning with the member for Melton with his outstanding contribution, and acknowledge his service as a medic for many, many years. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the work of all Victoria's emergency services, beginning with emergency call takers right through to Victoria Police officers, Ambulance Victoria officers, our firefighters, health workers, state emergency services workers, PSOs, but as well as our social workers who have to deal with a lot of the fallout of a lot of these incidents that sometimes can be forgotten. This bill is a key pillar in the reform of Victoria's 000 service, and the bill will do quite a number of things. It will focus 000 Victoria on delivering high quality and timely call taking and dispatch services and operational communication services, establish a board directly accountable to the Minister for Emergency Services for all aspects of the business of 000 Victoria that has clearly legislated functions, define the functions of the CEO who will be appointed by and report to the board and be accountable for the general conduct and financial management of 000 Victoria. It will establish an operational committee of the board to formalise and embed meaningful partnership models between 000 Victoria and emergency services and other key government departments. And the bill details the reporting requirements of the board to the Minister for Emergency Services and the Department of Justice and Community Services and Community Safety. The bill also sets out the process around establishing performance standards that will be set by the Emergency Management Commissioner in consultation with 000 Victoria, emergency service organisations and key department stakeholders, and be reviewed at least every 5 years. The Inspector General for Emergency Management will maintain a role in monitoring assurance. The bill, Deputy Speaker, marks an important step forward as the government delivers on its commitment to create a stronger, more resilient 000 service for all Victorians. The bill builds on and is informed by the findings of the Emergency Services Telecommunications Authority, the ESTA Capability Service Review, which was led by former Victoria Police Commissioner Graham Ashton. The bill also builds on and is informed by the findings of the Inspector General of Emergency Management's review of Victoria's emergency ambulance call answer performance following the COVID-19 pandemic and related 000 demand surge, which also identified quite a number of opportunities to strengthen governance, accountability, service delivery, including the times of peak demand. Both of these reports recommend organisational changes and reforms to ensure that 000 structure, functions and name aligns with community expectations and the services being provided. But both of these reports also set out clearly and factually the context in which ESTA had been operating through the unprecedented demands and challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, which I will draw the House's attention to. To point the House to page 2 and to 4 of ESTA's capability review, which stated that ESTA responded to 2.5 million emergency calls annually and dispatches 2.1 million events per annum. ESTA employs approximately 1,000 people who do magnificent work across their 3 purpose-built facilities that operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. However, for some time now, there has been significant concern around the effectiveness of ESTA's capability and capacity to deliver consistent 000 services across Victoria. And this review has been completed during a particularly complex and challenging time for ESTA. The report acknowledges that over the course of the review there had been and continue to be challenges in the delivery of some of ESTA's call dispatch services. These include the ongoing impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic that have pushed Victoria's emergency services organisations, particularly health services, to their limits. Speaker, the Ashton Review goes on to make 20 recommendations, much of which are either fulfilled or progressed through the passage of this bill. Deputy Speaker, the review of the Inspector General into ambulance performance during COVID-19 from page 5 to 12 states, "It is not an understatement to say that the COVID-19 pandemic has changed life as we know it. For more than 2 years now, Australia and the world has been dealing with a health crisis of such scale and consequence that the closest precedent was the devastating outbreak of the Spanish influenza following the Great War. COVID-19 has challenged and stretched the health systems across the world. Despite Australia's relatively small population and situated within a continent of its own, state and national health systems have been subjected to the significant stress and strain affecting both systems and people. And the review recognised the vital and skillful work of all the call centre takers and dispatchers during the past few years that have been presented with so many challenges. On the front line of Victoria's emergency management system, these people have worked tirelessly to help safeguard the community. The review finds no fault in the people who have so capably served in this capacity through such difficulties as the pandemic has presented it to us all. This work is highly skilled, although physically and psychologically demanding on the call takers, dispatchers and also their families. The current benchmark for ESTA's speed of call answer for emergency ambulance is that within a calendar month, ESTA answers 90% of such calls within 5 seconds. However, despite its careful planning and best endeavours, Esther's call answer speed performance for emergency ambulance via 000 did fall during the period of the review below community and government expectations and performance benchmarks during the pandemic. This occurred in the face of an enormous and unprecedented demand for Ambulance Victoria services, demand that reverberated and challenged the health system broadly as a whole. By the end of 2020-21 financial year, Esther had answered 884,000 plus emergency ambulance calls, which was 53,200 more than the previous year. From the end of October 21, as COVID restrictions began to be eased, this contributed to call volumes increasing significantly more, with Esther answering approximately 2,800 calls a day for 8 months. That is 400 a day more than the previous year's mean. As was across the health sector, Esther was also having to follow a significant percentage of staff to COVID-19 infections or being deemed as close contacts. At the very same time, Ambulance Victoria assessed that many of these calls were for patients who did not need an emergency ambulance. Ambulance Victoria's referral was assessing 40% of 000 calls and referring 24% to alternative means, care or transport during 2021. They weren't emergencies. The review identified 40 potential adverse events, sadly, during this period, which were associated with call answer delays, agency command and control decisions and resourcing issues. Tragically, of course, 33 patients did not survive their emergencies, and my thoughts and prayers really are with their families and also the emergency workers who attended these cases. But the review, however, did not make any findings about whether the associated emergency call performance issues may have contributed to the passing of these patients or whether faster intervention may have prevented these deaths. To quote from the report, the Inspector General for Emergency Management stated that these important questions are respectfully for the jurisdiction of the Coroner's Court of Victoria, with the Inspector General also going on to say that the actual consequences of degrading call answer and response times for the community may not actually be clear for some time, and that it may also be necessary for longitudinal studies to track patient outcomes over time. The Inspector General's report put forward 42 findings, 9 observations and 8 recommendations that again are being largely fulfilled through this bill. And these reforms, Deputy Speaker, along with the accompanying state investments, will help us to rebuild community confidence into our state's emergency call dispatch system. Because along with these reforms, since 2021, the Victorian Government has delivered over $363 million in new investment to reform and strengthen Victoria's 000 services, including through $333 million from May of 22 to deliver more than 400 staff, another $27 million in October 21 to ease call-taking pressure and upgrade technology, and a further $2 million in the recent budget to continue to support the implementation of these initiatives. These improvements, coupled with unprecedented government investment, has ensured significant improvements in Esther's call answer performance. Since August 2022, Esther has consistently exceeded the ambulance call answer speed benchmark of answering 90% of calls within 5 seconds. And given they receive around 7,500 calls a day, or a call every 11.6 seconds, this is a phenomenal work that needs to be acknowledged. But Deputy Speaker, I'd like to also begin where I end where I started, by thanking every local emergency worker across Pascoe Vale, Coburg and Brunswick West. In this respect, I'm very pleased to share with the House that the member for Broadmeadows on the 15th of June officially opened the new world-class SES station on the border of our electorates. Located at 1,161 Sydney Road on Hadfield, the Victorian Government invested $125 million to deliver this brand new world-class facility, which is spread across 5,000 square metres and includes a 5-bay motor room, a modern kitchen, expanded office space, fully equipped with IT communications equipment that is all interconnected with the broader emergency network. But Speaker, I'd also like to conclude on another positive note, and share with the House the story of young Chloe Bonner, an 8-year-old from Pascoe Vale, who demonstrated maturity beyond her years in picking up the phone to 000 to save the life of her mum, Sally Bonner. As a medical emergency was unfolding at her house, Chloe first rang her grandmother, explaining that she had found her mum making funny noises and that her eyes were closed. Chloe's mum, Sally, is a diabetic. 000's Darcy Martell, the Esther call taker who took the call, then called Chloe directly, through which Chloe's calm demeanour and capacity guided her to calmly follow the instructions that Darcy was giving her to help save her mum. Chloe's bravery was recently recognised by an Esther Junior 000 award, which as a community we should all be very, very proud of. And in that respect, Deputy Speaker, I'm very pleased to commend the bill to the House in the name of all our emergency services workers who deserve our credit every single day, in the name of the SES Centre that we've just recently opened that the member for Broadmeadows cut the ribbon to, which will go on to serve our community for many, many more years, and in the name of Chloe, who's done a magnificent job that we should all draw inspiration from.